and leave me a message and I'll call you back. Since we're here to talk about septic systems, the first thing that I want to let you know is if you are on a septic system or you think you might be on a septic system or you don't know, we probably have a drawing of your system at our office. So call 770-435-7815 to get that drawing. Some of our older drawings are on index cards and they don't have a house number or sometimes even a road from houses built in the 50s and 60s. So it might be a little tricky to find your drawing, but we can help point you in the direction of how to locate everything involved with your septic system if we can't locate your drawing. But most of the time we can find them, so that's no problem. But that's our main desk number, and we can always answer questions there as well. So what is a septic system? Septic system, if you're not hooked to the county or city sewer, all your water from your house and all the stuff that goes in the water goes out to your septic system. The first part of it after the house is a septic tank. And then it goes out to the drain field where all the water gets reabsorbed back into the ground. The septic system tank can be a 1 or 2 compartment tank, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then there are different products that can make the drain field. How do we size a septic system? Septic systems are sized per bedroom, not bathroom. So you could have a 2-bedroom house with 5 bathrooms, and it would have the same septic system as a 2-bedroom house with 1 bathroom. The theory behind that is how many people could potentially live in the house. So not too many people are living in a 2-bedroom versus a 5-bedroom. If you add on to your house, add a bedroom to your house, and you don't add on to your septic system, you're just hurting yourself and your septic system because the system won't be able to handle the water load of that bigger house, and it does need to be upgraded if you add a bedroom on. Again, you can check with our office to see what the system was designed for when it was built or repaired. So call for your drawing if you are on a septic system, and we can answer any questions about any permitting or any additions that you would like to put onto your house. 770-435-7815, again, is that phone number. So the first part of a septic system outside of your house is a septic tank. It'll be attached to your sub out wherever your lowest plumbing outlet is. And it'll be probably about 6 inches below ground. Sometimes they're a little deeper if you have like a basement, but they're generally not too far below ground. So you can sometimes use like a pro rod or some sort of a metal stick to find your septic tank. They're about 10 feet away from your foundation. Might be a little further away if you're on a basement. Generally, a 3 or 4 bedroom house will have a 1,000 or 1,500 gallon tank. The garbage disposal is what makes it a bigger tank. So if you have a 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom house with a garbage disposal, you'll need that extra 50% capacity just to catch all those solids inside the septic tank. And that is the purpose of the septic tank. Actually, it's multi-purpose, but the main purpose is to catch the solids that come out of your house, food waste, bathroom waste, any toilet paper, anything like that that's coming out with the water. You want your septic tank to capture that. And so it slows that water down and it gives it a retention time of, we're hoping, at least 24 hours. And then from there, the water goes out to the drain field. But if you have opened your septic tank, which I probably wouldn't recommend, but sometimes people do, and you see that the water level is at the outlet pipe, so there's an inlet pipe. Go back to this one. The water comes in at this inlet pipe and then goes down into that first section of the tank and then goes over to the outlet pipe. The water should be sort of at the outlet pipe level. That's where your tank is working properly. It shouldn't be too much lower than that, and it shouldn't be overflowing your tank. So if that happens, then you should call a septic contractor. But so the water level should be at the outlet level when the tank is functioning properly. And the purpose of pumping is to remove the solids from the tank and allow more retention time for the water before it drains out to the field lines. If you get too many solids, then your solids will start to go out to the drain field and start to make the field fail faster, essentially. So cleaner water going out to your drain field will always be better for your septic system, and it will allow your septic system to last for a lot longer. Often in the field when I do site visits for evaluations or permits, I get the question, how often should I pump my septic tank? And that really depends on what's going on with your house and what kind of water use you have. Typically, a 3 to 4 bedroom house with 4 people should pump every 3 to 5 years. If you have a bigger family, you can pump it more often. That's better, but you don't need to be pumping it. If you have to pump it every month or every couple of months for your system for water not to back up into your house or to come up around your septic tank, then you have a bigger problem than just pumping your septic tank. So the purpose of pumping the septic tank is to get those solids out of the bottom of the tank, and so that you allow that retention time to go higher. So you have better water, cleaner water going out to the septic system. If you never pump it, sometimes we run into that where we've been out to properties that haven't ever been pumped in 50 years. That whole tank is just one big solid mass, pretty much, and all the water is just going straight out to the field line system. So it's not super great for the system, and it can cause failure of your septic system. When you do get your tank pumped, you have to have a certified septic contractor pump out your septic tank. It can't just be a regular plumber. It can't be your friend that has a vacuum hose. It has to be somebody who's certified with this Georgia Department of Public Health to pump septic tanks. You can call our office again, like I said earlier, with your drawings, or you can check on the website bph.georgia.gov/environmental health, and that will get you to the wastewater page, and then they have contractor lists on there. You can search for contractors in our area, or you can search for a certain name if you know somebody. And again, my desk phone number you can always call is 770-438-5102, or you can call our main number 770-435-7815. Oh, we have a question. So does pumping require a permit? Not generally. There is no permit required when somebody comes out to just do a routine pumping of your septic tank, and all they do is dig up your tank, take off the lids, stick the big hose in it, and suck out all the solids and any liquid that happens to be in there. Or whenever they replace that inlet or outlet tee that was shown in that first illustration, you do not need a permit from my office for that kind of work. There are some instances when you would need a septic permit, and when something requires, when something is having to do with the tank and not the field lines, then it's what we call a mini permit, but our office would know if you would need that mini permit or a regular permit. But we do require a permit when you're replacing the pipe between the house and the septic tank, the pipe between the tank and the field lines, if you're replacing the tank itself, or sometimes people will put risers on so that they don't have to dig up the yard when you're getting your septic tank pumped. It's just like an 18-inch round riser they can add onto the top of the tank, but they'll have to replace the tank section lid, so that does require a mini permit. But we just come out and look at it, draw it up, so you have it for your records and we have it for our records as well. Something that comes up when people come out to do your septic tank pumping is additives. We in the state do not recommend adding additives of any kind. There are chemical additives that septic tank pumpers will like to say that you need for your septic system, and No, you don't need those. And also biological additives that you can buy over the counter from Amazon or at Target or Walmart. And we don't really recommend those either. Chemical additives are marketed to unclog drains and break up oil and grease. This can actually be harmful to your system because if the grease and the oil are not allowed to stay in the septic tank and they're mixed in with the water, then what happens is they get into your field lines and they'll clog up your field lines. So it's better that it's not unclogged. They could also contain acids, solvents, hydrogen peroxide, or strong caustic agents, which can just harm your piping and your field lines, and we don't want any of that. And then some of them are prohibited in the state of Georgia, so stay away. And then the other kind of additive is a biological additive, and this is things like Riddex, and there are a ton of different other companies that put out additives. They're made from bacteria, yeast, or enzymes, marketed as starter agents or as aids in routine maintenance. These won't harm your system the way that a chemical additive would, but they don't really do anything either. Your septic system is its own independent environment, and it gets all of the bacteria, the sugar, the water. It gets everything it needs from your house, from your everyday kitchen use, bathroom use, shower use. It doesn't need anything else. It just works its magic underneath the ground, so it doesn't need anything to help it go. What we really recommend for maintenance, pump your tank every 3 to 5 years, and your system will work as long as it possibly can. Your tank will look full. Like I said, the water level should be about at the outlet pipe level all the time, so that's nothing to be worried about if the water looks like it's almost at the top of the tank. But if it is coming out around the top of the tank or it's sort of backing up into the house, that would be the time to definitely call for a septic contractor to come out and look and see what's going on. Okay, and then in this next slide, we have a little animation of what the water looks like when it's coming out from the house to the septic tank and then into the field line. And so we hit go to septic tank, and then we can see an animation of running the water from the house, and then it goes down into the tank. The water level will raise a little bit and then go out into the field where it will be absorbed back into the water. Now this tank is a 2-compartment tank. A lot of the tanks that are older than 20 or so years are just 1 compartment, so they will not have that middle wall with the T in it, so it'll just be one big tank. And something interesting about this is that this shows a lot of the solids on the outlet side of the tank where the water is leaving the tank, but the solids will be on the inlet side of the tank. So if somebody's coming to pump your tank and you do have a 2-compartment tank, make sure they're pumping out the inlet side and the outlet side, but the inlet side is the most important part. With a single compartment, it's just one big open tank, so it doesn't matter which side really that they dig up. A lot of times we get questions, do I need a permit to do anything else with my septic system? Can I dig and fix anything myself? And the answer is no. Unfortunately, do not allow anyone to dig into your septic field lines without a permit from environmental health. We require a permit to do any field line work, and it has to be done by a certified septic contractor. So just make sure if somebody's coming over to do work in your yard for your septic system that they're getting a permit from us. We want to make sure it's done right to protect the property and the homeowners against any people that might be doing a little bit of shady work. And then if you need a building permit for anything in your house that's inside or outside or any additions, sheds, swimming pools, then you're required to come to our office and get an evaluation of your septic system. And we'll do a site visit and look and make sure that you're not building over your septic system, that your septic system is functioning as much as we can tell from doing a walk around the yard, and make sure that what you're building is good and not adding to your water usage. For field line products, there are two types of products that are really commonly used. Back in up until the 90s, I'd say there was a pipe and gravel system where you would have a trench dug out and you would have 6 inches of gravel and then a corrugated pipe sort of in the middle there, and then 6 more inches of gravel, and then they would cover that up with the dirt. And that nobody really installs that anymore. So we have two types of systems that are installed now. It's a chamber type system and an easy flow type system. And the chamber type system looks like this. It's generally just a black plastic dome that goes over the dugout trench, and it's 4 or 5 foot chambers that connect to each other in a 36-inch wide trench. Sometimes if people will try to locate their systems and you're using a probe rod, they'll hear that plastic pop. And the water comes out of the tank and then goes underneath that dome and can absorb into the ground from there. The easy flow type system is another one that's commonly used. These are 10-inch sections of 3 bundles. I'm not sure if you can see, the picture might be a little small, but the 2 bundles on the bottom are just bundles of essentially packing peanuts. And then the top bundle has that packing peanuts, but it also has a corrugated pipe in the middle of it, and that sits on top of the 2 other bundles. And those sort of essentially stand in for the gravel in the pipe and gravel systems that they used to put in, and it allows the water to make its way through those packing peanut products and sort of clean itself as it gets to the soil, which does the work of cleaning the water before it gets back to the water table. And these are installed in 30-inch wide trenches, so they're a little bit thinner than the other trenches. Like I said, the field lines are after the septic tank, and they are where the water drains to be cleaned by the soil and returned to the water table. The different products do all the same thing. They all are space for the water to stay while the soil is absorbing the water. So it spreads out the water underground, and then the water goes in through the sidewalls and into the bottom of that trench, so it can be cleaned by the soil surface. There might be 3 different formations that your septic system could be in. The most common is the cereal field, which is actually the second one on the list. It's where the water will come into a trench of a certain length, however many of the field line products are attached to each other, where it will fill that trench up, and then the water will push itself over to the next step down to the next trench that's on a different level, and then it works its way through your system like that. The first one on here is the level field. All the trenches are level with each other. They're all in the same level underground, so the water can go into any of the trenches and work its way around this level field. A distribution box system where the water comes from the septic tank into a smaller concrete box, and then it goes out into field lines of equal length that are installed from the central box. Sorry, we had a few technical difficulties. Okay, so sorry, we had a few technical difficulties. So I'll go back over this field line formation just to make sure we all understood it and heard it. The level field, where all the trenches are the same level as each other, so the water can flow through any of the trenches at any time. And the cereal field, which has step downs, generally, like if you're on a hill or a slope, a cereal field will be used. And that's mostly what we see here in this section of Georgia. And then the distribution box formation, where the water goes from the septic tank to a smaller distribution box. And then the lines that come out are all the same level as each other and the same length as each other. They're not the same level, I'm sorry, they're the same length as each other. Field line failure happens when the soil cannot absorb any water, and it can happen for different reasons. It can happen just with the age of the system. It can happen because of too much grease in the system. It can happen because you're driving over your system or have built something over your system. Generally, people notice wet spots in the yard, areas that don't dry after a rain and can smell very bad, and grass grows differently there, like really thick and really green. Like I said, it can be caused by age. What happens with the age is as the septic system ages, a biomat layer fills the bottom and the sides of the trench, and it acts like a swimming pool liner where the water can't get through it. So it just finds the path of least resistance and it goes up to the surface. So, and it also can be caused by too much water used in the home, water from an irrigation system or a downspout goes to the field lines. Sometimes the soil will not be able to absorb the water fast enough. Really, your system is designed for the water from the house and not any extra water. So if you have a sprinkler system over your field line, then you're just adding water your field lines don't really need. And then also irrigation and downspouts, really important to get those downspouts and irrigation to empty their water past your septic system, past your septic tank, past your field lines, so that they're not adding any extra water. Some extra field line information. Don't drive over your field lines. You could crush them. That would be bad. You don't want to cause that failure. Don't install that irrigation system. Just adds water that you don't really need to your yard and to your septic system, especially if you have like a more shallow system. Field lines are typically 3 to 4 feet underground, the bottom of the trenches. So the top of that product will be within 2 to 3 feet of your ground surface. So the closer it is to the ground surface, the more you really don't want to add any more surface water or any extra water to your system. Do not plant trees or plants with heavy roots over your septic tank or your field lines. That's a really common cause of failure, especially in some of the older gravel systems. Trees really love water, so their roots will search out any water that they can find, and a good source of water is all that water coming from your house. And then, like I said, all the downspouts, make sure they're piped away from your septic tank and field, because that could add so much water that you wouldn't realize. And another thing that I had forgotten to put on here was check your water bill to make sure that you're not having even a slow leak of like a toilet or a sink that sort of just drips can add so much water to your septic system that can make it fail. So something that could be really easy, cheap fix could in the end cost a couple $1,000s to fix if it gets to your septic system, so you don't want that. One thing that's very important is don't build over your septic system. We require the evaluations for that reason. If you're doing anything that needs a building permit, it can cause the oxygen that sort of helps the water get through the soil. It can take away all that oxygen. So it makes that anaerobic bacteria layer much faster if there's no oxygen getting to those field lines. And the same reason you shouldn't add any fill dirt over your system or grade away any of the dirt above your system, because that could bring your field lines closer to the surface, and that would have the water closer to the surface as well. The EPA has some really good information on their website about what to flush and what to put down the sink. So this first slide is about what to flush down the toilet and basically just whatever else is in the toilet with the toilet paper. Things you should not put down the toilet are paper towels, any feminine hygiene products, medications, disposable diapers, or wipes. Even if they say flushable, they are not meant for any sort of flushing down the water down the toilet. Even if you're on sewer, really, you should never flush wipes. Any plastics, cigarette butts, dental floss, or toxic substances. Basically, just flush down what needs to be flushed down the toilet. And then at the sink, what's okay to go down the drain? Dishwater, water that you're washing produce with, and cleaning products like your dish soap, things like that that are supposed to go down the drain. And not okay down the drain would be any food waste, chemicals, grease or fat. If you have a garbage disposal, I would try and use it as little as possible if you're on a septic system. I mean, they are meant, the bigger tank is why, is for the garbage disposal systems, but it's better just to keep any food waste out of that septic tank. And this picture sort of explains why it's important to have a good septic system for the overall health of the people around you at different houses and for just the overall environment. So the water, if you notice number 4, the water is going down into the soil. So sometimes the septic systems will be too close to the water table and the dirty water will get into the water table and contaminate it. And we don't want that. So that's part of what our permitting process is to make sure that we're permitting your system to be installed far enough away from a rock layer or a water layer that it will stay in the soil and not get into the water level that could get back into your drinking water. We don't want that. And also we have setbacks that we have from swimming pools, wells, creeks, lakes that are to protect the water sources as well. And some really good resources if you're interested in and you have a septic system. This epa.gov/septic has so much good information as far as homeowner videos of what you should do for your septic system and also different information about just the septic systems in general. And it had those 2 pamphlets on what to put down the drain and what to put down the toilet too. And then the other one is the State Department of Public Health websites where you can find information on contractor requirements, contractor lists, and there are some information about adding additives to your system on there too, where it more explains why you shouldn't put any additives in your septic system. And those are all my slides, so I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any. Okay. Oh, that's an interesting question because we're not really involved in it. So the question is about planting trees in a subdivision when, or by a septic system in general, when the subdivision is being put in. Um, we don't require any permitting for trees. That would be a different department, I believe, would be in charge of like filling back in the trees that may have been cut away when a house is being built. But and just in general, we don't recommend putting trees near where your septic system is, or a garden, or food that you're going to grow over your septic system. But no, we don't require any permits for that. And I'll go back to the first slide so that if you want to write down our phone number and my email address. Well, the first thing to do, you could, if you don't know where your septic tank or your septic system is, then the first thing you can do is email my office or call me, and we can locate the drawing for you if we have it on file. We have 99% of the drawings, I'd say. But then some of the older systems we don't have the drawings for because they were written on index cards. They didn't have the address, they don't have the street number always. So most of the time we can locate your drawing for you and then explain to you what you're looking at because sometimes it doesn't make sense. A little rectangle box, the smaller rectangle boxes. Um, and another way to locate it is a septic contractor can find your stub out and then they can follow it out from there with a probe rod usually and get pump out your tank at that time. All right. If you're looking for something to plant over your drain field, I would just plant grass. So if you sometimes we have systems that are installed in the front yard really close to the driveway, and we typically recommend installing it at least 5 feet away from a driveway or any sort of hardscaping. But if there's a really small space, you have to put in what you can put in. And so you can put like a paver or a rock around the side of your system to make sure that people aren't driving over it when they're pulling into the driveway or out of the driveway, things like that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so a question of locating the clean out. If you have the plat of your subdivision, um, you can ask us for a more specific plat or a drawing for your specific address. Or some of the older systems don't have clean out. So typically now what people will install when they fix or install a new septic system is the pipe that comes out of your house. They'll put another pipe into that. That's a clean out pipe so that you can see what's going on sort of in the pipe between the house and the tank. Some systems just don't have those. So if you don't see one that's between your house and where your septic tank would be, then you just might not have one. Okay. So driving over your septic tank, we don't typically recommend it. There are some instances where businesses have septic tanks and you have to be able to drive over them. If you always do have to drive over your tank, then we recommend installing like a traffic lid because uh, the lid can get kind of crumbly as it gets older and you don't want to drive your car into the septic tank on accident. So a traffic rated lid a septic contractor could install that for you if it's a necessity for you to drive over your tank to get to a garage or an outdoor building or something. If there's any more questions, I'll be happy to answer them. If you think of any questions later, like I said, call or email me. I can come out and help you with your system, answer any questions that you might have, point you in the direction of some contractors. We have a list of contractors that work a lot in our area of the state, but you're always welcome to find the list of certified septic contractors and use anybody who is certified. And this is our main number. So if you call my desk and I'm not there, which we are not usually there a lot during the day, we're out doing field inspections. 770-435-7815. They're 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. Is a secretary there that's happy to answer their phone calls. They might not be able to answer a specific question about your system or the septic system in general, but they know what would need a permit and what you would need to get a permit. Oh, growing small flowers and shrubs. Flowers, I would say yes. Shrubs, sometimes the root systems can get into your field, especially if your field is sort of shallow. So I wouldn't really recommend any shrubbery that grows big because the roots are really what is the problem for the systems. If roots get in, they just make a big mat and clog it up. Don't do that.
Okay, you're live.
All right, well, thanks for being here today with us. Our next Lunch and Learn is Friday, October 30th. We'll be talking about indoor water audit. So spread the word on that one. Thank you, Jessica, for being here. I appreciate you spending time with us.